If you look closely, you'll notice that almost all millionaires or billionaires in the world share very similar characteristics and behaviors. But what do these people have in common that allows them to achieve such extraordinary results? Is it possible for ordinary individuals to achieve such feats? Well, the truth is that they are all ordinary people, and most came from very different realities than the ones they live in now. What we need to do is model these behaviors, adapt them to our reality and pursue their results. Embark now on this journey towards excellence. You won't want to be left out. First, I would like you to reflect on something. How different would your life be if you simply didn't stop? If you didn't give up on what you abandoned years ago? How different would your life be now? Today we will talk about the 8 things successful people do that unsuccessful people don't. I firmly believe that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. If someone has done it before, you can do it too. The first time this caught my attention was when I was younger and read a book called Think and Grow Rich. I realized that it doesn't matter where I was born or what my circumstances were. What matters is that I put the right pieces in place to build my life. If I do that, I will eventually get what I want. Success is a very relative word. It can mean something different to you than it does to me. For some, success might mean joy, peace, happiness, a big family, luxury cars, world travel, designer clothes, financial freedom. Whatever it is, it's different for each person. But when I look at everything in life, I realize that they all have steps to be successful. Success can mean many different things to different people, but I'll share 8 things I've seen in people who have succeeded in their lives. Success, for me, is having the ultimate freedom. The freedom to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want. What does success mean to you? The first thing I find in many successful people, not all, but in 80% of them, is that they have a kind of consistency in waking up early and have some kind of morning routine. So, when I was researching this, I thought, let me see what time successful people wake up. And then I found people like Richard Branson, who is a multi-billionaire and wakes up at 4:30 every morning. Tim Cook, who is a multi-billionaire and wakes up at 4:30 every morning. Howard Schultz, who is the guy who started Starbucks, wakes up at 5 o'clock every morning. I'm not saying you have to wake up at these times, but the reason they wake up at these times is because they have time for themselves, whether it's to read, journal, or work out. They have time to be intentional, to become who they want to be. They do this before going to work. They take care of themselves. Have you had any time to take care of yourself? Imagine if you could try this and wake up at least an hour earlier and spend that hour on yourself instead of watching Netflix or sports. If you cut out that hour at night, went to bed an hour earlier, woke up an hour earlier, and spent some time on yourself, how would that be for you? So, ask yourself, do you feel like you wake up early enough now to have time specifically dedicated to you and your own self? If the answer is no, I would recommend incorporating this into your life. The second thing I found really interesting is that they read almost every day. There was an article that came out a few years ago that says the average CEO reads about 60 books a year. 60 books a year. This means that the average CEO, who is at the top of their company, the highest in their industry, reads 60 books a year. That's more than 1 book a week. So, you have to think to yourself, how many books am I reading? How much am I going out and trying to learn? How much am I going out and trying to grow? Try to learn from some of the most successful people who ever lived. The beauty of life is that everything you want to learn about anything, from self-development, self-discipline, religion, and spirituality, all these things, all the books have already been written that you could want to read by some of the smartest people who ever lived. Why don't you just start reading these books? How often do you read? And if you set it as a goal, how many books would you like to read per month? Find that number, write it down, and start following it. The third thing they do is exercise consistently. They understand that there is a mind-body connection. If your body is not in the right place, there is a good chance your mind is not in the right place. Your mind and body have a constant connection at all times. A good example of this is if you eat something very heavy in the middle of the day, you get very tired after lunch. Have you ever gone through that? Do you know that feeling of being in the middle of the day and feeling very tired and immediately craving coffee? That may not be a natural feeling. Maybe it's because you're eating something that's making you feel that way. And when I say they exercise consistently, it's because they understand that when you exercise consistently in the morning or evening, whatever it is, your body will start to create more energy throughout the day. And the more energy you have throughout the day, the more energy you will have to achieve your goals, whatever they may be. And so one of the things they do consistently is work out 4 times a week and are always moving. The fourth thing is writing down their goals consistently. In the 70s, Harvard did a study on people graduating from Harvard with an MBA. From that graduating class, only 3% of them actually wrote down their goals. And then, 10 years later, in the 80s, they followed up with all these people and found that the 3% who wrote their goals with pen and paper were 10 times more successful than all the other 97% combined. So, 3% of the people who wrote down their goals were 10 times more successful than the other 97% combined. The truth is that it becomes real when you write it down with pen and paper. It becomes physical in this world. It becomes something you see and something you can work on. Often people set goals and never write them down, and it never works. They will never work on their goals to figure out how to achieve them. What really is the biggest obstacle for people not achieving their goals? But the example I would like to give is like if I gave you a multiplication problem. See this example. Can you do the calculation in your head? 127 times 43. Most people listening right now wouldn't be able to do that in their head. But if I give you a piece of paper and a pen and tell you exactly the same number, you could figure it out by doing the multiplication you learned in 4th grade, 3rd grade. So, when you can take something out of your head and put it on a piece of paper and start working on it, this process makes difficult things much easier to achieve. When you write your goals consistently every day and work on them the same way you would if you were building a business plan. When you're going to make a business plan, you don't do it in your head. You write everything down. When you practice this process, you start to have more clarity about exactly what you want. Ask yourself, how often do you write your goals? And if it's not frequent, maybe you should develop the practice of writing your goals every day and working on them every day, making it part of your journaling practice. The 5th thing they do is have mentors. I read an article years ago that said the average person who becomes a millionaire has, on average, 7 mentors before reaching that level. If you're out there looking around and thinking you don't have a mentor, the reason this is important is because they can shorten your learning curve, summarizing 20 years of knowledge and experience into 2 years for you. That's the importance of hiring coaching. The mentor is someone who is further ahead in the process than you, who has already done what you want to do and has already made the mistakes you will eventually make. If you learn from them, you can shorten your learning curve, not have to go through the same mistakes, and at the same time, see exactly what you need to do to get where you want to go. I have a friend I recently met, and she runs a business in the same field as mine. However, her business generates 50 million a year, while mine generates 5 million. She is far ahead of me in that respect. What does she know that I don't? How can I add value to her based on what I know about my business? How can I bring the value she has in her business to mine? How can we mutually benefit? It's wonderful when you start adopting this new habit of connecting with people who already have the keys to success. When you start finding mentors, you discover the power of helping someone who is further ahead in the process than you, and also being helped by someone who is more advanced. There are two different types of mentors I always talk about. The first is paid and the second is free. You can decide which is best for you. I have many friends who are great mentors to me, and I don't pay them anything. We brainstorm, they assist me, and I help them. These are free mentors, but they don't feel obligated to make me succeed. They want me to succeed, but there's no obligation on their part to ensure my success. I've had paid mentors, and when you pay someone, there's a greater sense of obligation and a more consistent meeting process. I'm always with my mentors every week, and they have a certain obligation to help me succeed because I'm paying them. Of course, I need to be 100% dedicated to that success. You can have a paid or free mentor, but the important thing is to have someone who can guide you and give you the keys to open the doors you need to reach your goals. The sixth key that I always find in these people is positive self-talk. We are all born positive, but the world kind of destroys that within us, and we have to refine that positivity. You won't wake up every day super excited to face the day. But how can you start talking to yourself in a way that motivates you to keep going and take action? How can you begin to strengthen yourself? I want you to understand that it's hard to succeed in this world. And it's even harder when you have someone talking in your ear all the time, even if that someone is yourself. How can you build a positive self-talk system to be more intentional with all the conversations happening inside your own head? I'll give you an example of an experiment we did. We took a container and filled it with dirt, a lot of dirt. Then we took a cup of water and poured it into this container. The truth is that nothing changed. But if you take a garden hose and let it flow constantly, eventually the hose will move so much water that it will remove all the dirt. This dirt equates to all the negative thoughts in your head. It's not enough to think positively sometimes or have a few positive thoughts. You'll have to brainwash yourself to be positive all day, every day. When I catch myself slipping and saying something negative, I pull back. So you have to ask yourself, what part of myself needs improvement? Cultivate positive thoughts so that the negative ones can be pushed away. Number 7 is that they don't worry about failure. Failure doesn't exist in the mind of a successful person. Failure doesn't exist until you completely give up on something. These people have failed more times than all the average people combined. They don't worry about failure. They don't think about the missed shots, but rather how they will make the next ones. To succeed, you will have to fail many times along the way. Just don't let that stop you. Keep going. Failures are part of the process. Number 8 is that they simply don't stop. They decide what they want and decide that they will get there or die trying. The secret to success is just outlasting everyone in your field, because most people will quit along the way. Most of your competitors will quit, and I guarantee that. So if you just don't stop, eventually you'll acquire the skills, the knowledge, and everything you need to be more successful than everyone else. If you make the decision in your mind, no matter what happens, no matter how many times you fall, no matter how many times you think negatively, no matter how many times you mess up, it doesn't matter, because you will keep improving and you won't stop. Eventually, you will succeed. That's how it happens. When you look at the list of people who failed and became great successes, you'll see that they failed repeatedly. If you look at the list of Abraham Lincoln, for example, you'll see how many times he failed and all the things he went through in his life before becoming President of the United States. Many successful people have failed many times along the way. The only difference is that they don't let their failures hinder the success that is to come. They don't let their failures stop them from moving forward. The destination remains the same. They just keep going. So you must ask yourself, and this is a question I want you to think about, how different would your life be if you just didn't stop? If you hadn't given up on what you gave up on years ago, how different would your life be now? Think about it. How would your life be today? How would your mind be today? How would your body be today if you had never given up on what you gave up on 10 years ago? Your life would be very different. From today onwards, never stop. and success will come naturally. Strength, focus, resilience, method, and consistency. Success isn't free, it has a price. The price is that we have to be the best at what we do, and the reward will be guaranteed. If you made it this far, comment, "I stayed until the end." That way, I'll know you watched everything and I'll give your comment a heart. I hope new paths open for you and that life brings you many blessings. May the wind blow gently at your back, may the sun shine warmly on your face, and may the rain fall softly on your fields. Until we meet again, may God protect and guide you. Now take the time to watch other videos on our channel. I'm sure they will add a lot of value to your life. A big hug and see you next time.